from marketing to sales to operations, make sure that you act as one team. And you all tell the same story through the entire customer journey.
Visionaries. Hello and welcome to another episode of Funnel Visionaries, where we talk a whole lot of realness about perfecting the customer journey. I'm your host, Konrad Sanders, and in today's episode, I'm joined by the lovely Jente Geerts, who is a seasoned marketing communications manager from AirPlus. And today we delve into, first of all, how to pronounce names in Flemish correctly, which I'm pretty sure I failed miserably at. And more importantly, we dive into how to market to a diverse mix of buyer types who are speaking different languages, both literally and figuratively. Let's dive in. All right. Hello and welcome, Jente, to the very first season of Funnel Visionaries. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Konrad. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited, extremely happy that I get to be a guest, and I'm looking forward to listen to all of your questions and hopefully providing some good answers as well.
Excited to have you. We just had a bit of fun there with me attempting to pronounce your surname. I'll give it one final go. So Jente Geerts.
Yes, almost correctly. If you want to do it like the proper Flemish way, then it would be Hirts. So you got it.
Hirts. Okay. All right. I could spend the whole hour just trying to perfect that, but instead we're going to be talking about trying to perfect the customer journey. And I'm going to be grilling you with some really tough questions. So I hope you're ready for that.
I am. Well, at least I hope I am.
Good. Before, obviously, I'm half joking. It's going to be all nice and easy and flowy. And before we dive into those more serious marketing questions and specifically, focus on the topic of buyer personas, and in your case, perhaps like a complex sort of suite of different buyer personas and how that relationship works and how to target your audience when there are those complexities there. I'll start with something nice and light, a bit of marketing silliness, if you will. So we call this bit cringe or cool, right? So pretty simple. I'm going to throw something your way from the marketing world, and you're going to tell me if you think it's cringe or cool and why.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm ready.
So it's a simple one, an age-old marketing tactic. Cold emails. What do you reckon? Cringe or cool?
Ooh, it depends when you use them. I would say still cool. Good.
I think probably the word depends is an important word.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know within our company, we are trying to implement a couple of different marketing methods, and cold emailing is it's basically a part of one of them. So I think it's still cool.
It's cool. I'd say to add to that, if it's done right and well.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't do it in a boring way, you need to make sure that it's somehow it's interactive. I've seen a couple of great examples that that are using GIFs or animated things in cold emails, and that is something that immediately triggers curiosity and attention. So you are then more likely to go and engage. Or
absolutely.
In my case, I save them, and I have a huge database of okay, this is cool. Maybe we should try this as well.
I think that's a fantastic little tip already throwing in there for our audience. We do the same. So we have a swiped file and a thread. I think it's a brilliant thing to do as a marketer, because for me, at least, there's so much saturation with cold emails, with LinkedIn DMs, so much boring, crappy, samey stuff, that when something does work on you, it grabs my attention, and especially if I click and go into someone's funnel, I'll always try to reverse engineer that and sort of at least save it and go, look, this worked. Why did it work? You know, what was it about it? What can we learn from it?
Definitely. I'm using the exact same thing.
Yeah, smart thing to do. So let's dive into, you know, your company. You mentioned some of the things that you're doing at AirPlus. I'd love to know, and I think our listeners would love to know a bit about, you know, about AirPlus. If you can tell us what AirPlus does and you know, what makes your niche in corporate payment solutions so unique.
So basically, AirPlus International specializes in providing innovative corporate payment solutions that streamline and enhance financial processes for businesses worldwide. Our niche specifically lies in offering a comprehensive suite of services tailored to the unique needs of corporate travel and procurement. And what sets us apart is our deep commitment to customer experience and our ability to integrate with various financial and travel management systems. So our solutions not only offer also exquisite reporting and analytics, but also ensure compliance and control over corporate spending, which makes us a trusted partner for companies who are looking to optimize their financial operations. So they can focus on what matters to them.
Awesome. And you mentioned a few kind of almost departments there and like job roles, right? There's procurement, compliance came out there, travel. And I guess that's going to be the sort of theme of this episode is like, because as I know, we've worked together. You're one of our favorite clients, and that's why I wanted to have you on our, you know, first season. Just throwing that out there. You know, there's, I guess, different buyer types, different personas with quite different agendas, different pain points, different goals, desires, etc. So can you kind of talk us through like that, you know, the different buyer types that you are targeting, and also how do you essentially, you know, adapt your comms and your marketing strategies to kind of get through and influence these different buyer types within an organization?
Yeah, definitely. So our marketing efforts primarily target, as you've rightfully already said, like finance professionals, travel managers, and procurement officers on C-level. Why C-level? Because introducing or implementing a corporate payment provider, it involves a lot of different stakeholders within a company. And we want to go after the decision makers, because at the end of the day, it's them who will sign off on potentially working with us. And in our communication, we always try to use the right buzzwords for each target group. Because finance professionals, for example, they are focused on cost control, compliance, and detailed reporting capabilities, while travel managers, they look for streamlined booking processes, ease of reconciliation, and traveler safety. And then again, procurement officers, they prioritize supplier management, cost efficiency, and process automation. So as you can hear, each group has very distinct needs, but at the end of the day, they all share one common goal, which is enhancing efficiency and control over their respective domains.
Right. And have you found that one of those particular sort of target buyer types or personas is kind of easier to get a foot in the door, or is it generally like is marketing and sales overall targeting, you know, all three all the time, or is there like one that's kind of the door opener to the others, so to speak?
Yeah, so then I would give you a little bit more information about our company in general. So we have been primarily focused, and our DNA lies in travel management. But then because of the pandemic and business travel as a whole coming to a complete halt, we had to reinvent ourselves. because one of our main drivers and where we offer solutions was completely stopped. So with reinventing ourselves, we found that we, based on our existing solutions, by adapting them a little bit here and there, we found that we could also help procurement officers, for example. So that's what we've been focusing on during the pandemic, and then we saw it worked. We already got a very good step into the door, or maybe let's rephrase that one. We already have
works for me.
So basically, we started growing our customer base within procurement, making sure that we are completely up to date with the latest industry trends on in that particular area. And just by having first initial conversations, we thought, okay, then let's just keep it. It's now also one of our core solutions that we offer, and it's integrated in our whole comprehensive solution suite.
Nice. And you mentioned before that kind of buzzwords or words, or I potentially refer to that as voice of customer language, the ways that our target audience are describing their desires, the things they want, and it, as you said, you've kind of identified it's quite different, isn't it, across those three buyer types. So I've got two questions pop into mind. One is, how did you initially sort of discover what those pain points are, or what those kind of key buzzwords, as you say, are? Is that through sort of buyer research from the sales team? How do you kind of understand what is it that those three quite different people within a company are looking for or need?
Well, it's definitely via the sales team, because they and our account managers more specifically, because they are having daily conversations with their customers, but also operations at the same time. So based on having those conversations with our existing book, we know what is top of mind, and that is something that we always try to integrate in everything that we do, whether it's marketing communications or whether it's in sales presentations, etc. So that is one of the key lessons that we have learned. Always listen to your customers, and not only in conversations, but also with customer surveys, for example. Whatever way you can get information and insights, do it, because you can always use it moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that I'm a huge advocate for pushing for buyer insight, right? And it's something that we kind of did together and have been working on, trying to get as much, I'm just a huge believer in insight-led decisions rather than just assumption-based decisions. As marketers, we're a sample of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 10 maybe, but we're usually not our target audience. So don't just base it on it. We might have good assumptions. You and I, especially, Jente, smart people, right? We have brilliant assumptions, but you can go wrong, or you can miss out on some hidden gems, some real gold dust when it comes to talking to customers, or talking the next best thing to salespeople who have daily conversations with customers. And actually, one thing I love about AirPlus, working together with you guys, is that at least from my experience and our experience, there is a good relationship between marketing and sales. And that's not always the case. In fact, I find it's often not the case with lots of companies, not naming names, but other companies, big corporates we work with. Oh, my headphones fallen out. Little technical glitch there. It's back in. They often butt heads. And the reality is we're all there to do the same thing. We're there to drive revenue, and we should be really in the same department. We should be interconnected. And I love that. When we worked with you, when I was specifically working with you guys, we jumped on calls with your sales team who gave us those insights, these are the pain points, this is, these are the desires, these are the perceived barriers. And it's crucial, would you say, would you agree with me that it's crucial for marketing to have that good relationship with sales?
Definitely. And actually, I was having a conversation with one of my sales guys last week, and he mentioned, and it's something that I can't forget ever since he said it. At the end of the day, we also all share one common goal, like you said as well. And he said, even as a marketeer, there shouldn't be like a distinction between marketing and sales, because at the end of the day, we're all selling. And we should all tell the same story.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's something I like to shout about quite a lot. And I like that actually in quite a few sort of younger startups and scale-ups these days, they have a chief revenue officer that kind of sits above marketing and sales. And so inherently they're saying, we are the same. Our goals are the same.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're all selling. And I think also when you think of it all being about driving revenue together, cohesively and collectively, there's less focus just on, let's say, leads, right? Because if your goal as a marketer is just leads, lead number, lead count, you might be sending through the wrong leads. But according to marketing, you're doing a good job. Like, oh, I've done my bit. I've got you all those leads. But if there's no feedback loop, they all might be duds, or they might be the kind of leads that aren't going to buy your products, or when they do, they don't spend much money.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, and especially in our business as well, because we of course have a multi-channel approach, and what we do find is that, for example, when we have campaigns running on Google, it's not easy to target on Google. So it's basically as soon as someone enters the keywords that matches with one of our ads, and it could be either one of them. It could be like the pizza place around the corner, but those are obviously not the ones that we want to go after or that we can serve from a company point of view. So we always do our very best to make sure that our targeting is as on point as it can be, and we don't prefer quantity over quality. It's the other way around. We prefer quality over quantity, because it doesn't help marketing nor sales if we deliver them 300 leads, of which 250, let's say, are not what they are supposed to be. I had another word in mind, but I don't think I can curse in the...
No swearing. We can bleep it out. In the post-production.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, swear as much as you want, Jente. Just swear away.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. We're definitely on the same page there. And in terms of like this concept of what I call full funnel marketing, right? And the customer journey, customer journey doesn't end when they become a sales qualified lead or when they buy something even beyond that. So I'm a big advocate for looking beyond the sale. What can we get from current customers? How can we maximize customer lifetime value, push referrals, push
definitely
advocacy? There's, your customers are a great source of more revenue, essentially.
No, that's a 100% true.
Yeah. So I want to bring it back to the sort of the core theme here, which is this, the complexity of like, having, a mixed bag of like buyer personas and buyer types. And we talked about the different language and buzzwords they use. So talking of kind of language, in a way, these people within, companies that have different roles are speaking different languages. So how do you sort of navigate that? How do you bridge the gap between these different sort of languages, so to speak, especially in terms of your marketing comms and how you target and things like that?
So basically, in my case, you can interpret speaking different languages in two ways. The first one, figuratively, because as we already mentioned, each target group has their different priorities and goals. And one of the key challenges here is to ensure that our communication is relevant, engaging, and constant for each group, despite their different focus areas. And we manage this by using a mix of specialized content across different channels, such as LinkedIn. I already mentioned Google, but we also have our newsletters. We have blog articles that we write, and for all stages of the funnel. And interpreting, speaking different language in the second way would be quite literally, because I'm, for example, responsible for 7 different countries within my region, and we focus on 3 languages, which are English, Dutch, and French. So making sure that content is translated and, even more importantly, localized is one of my priorities as a local marketeer within AirPlus, because we want to make sure that when we share insights, also local data is used. And so all in all, understanding and speaking their language means aligning all of our value propositions with their unique priorities and decision-making criteria, and using those right buzzwords for each group in their native language where possible.
Yeah, awesome. Both figurative language differences and actual language differences there have to be considered. That, I've got a question for you on that, because I find that when working with like marketeers such as yourself in different companies, there's this question when it comes to sort of segmenting different buyer types, whereby the question is along the lines of, how far do we go? How much do we segment? Do we have 100 different buyer types? How sort of nuanced do we get with it? And I find that you don't want to kind of segment too much, because then it's like, how do you use that information, right? We can't do 100 different campaigns unless you've, I don't know, much larger organization that has the resources, money, time, sophistication to do it. So I suppose my question is regarding the different geographical buyers that you mentioned, right? And different actual languages that they're using and the localization there. Do you find that your buyer types, those 3 within the different countries tend to have the same kind of pain points and desires, etc.? Or can you see sort of regional differences as well?
Because at the end of the day, they're all doing more or less the same job. So it's actually, my answer would be yes and no at the same time, because as you said, you would need to have like a massive marketing budget or like the resources to deep dive in those ways. So yes and no. And given the fact that I'm, for example, responsible for those 7 different countries within my region, at the same time, we do have salespeople, local salespeople in those regions. So I would say yes, but then it's more done on the sales side rather than the marketing side. But it is nevertheless important to try and see, like, for example, where different needs pop up, whether in my region it's, for example, a different need in the Nordics compared to one in Belgium. But we do have those conversations with our sales team, and we try to make sure that our communications are tailored, but more when a little bit more further down the funnel, not at the very beginning just yet, because it's otherwise we would need to set up a lot of different ads between LinkedIn and Google. It all costs money as well.
Yeah.
So we basically do it, but more, like I said, on when they are ready to have that conversation with one of our sales guys.
Yeah, and I think it might also not be necessary in a sense, right? As you said, if they're kind of doing the same thing and probably have, for the most part, the same pain points, then those ads are probably going to resonate with the majority of them anyway, right? So in
Yeah.
terms of being hyper personalized and segmented, it might not be necessary when the broad topics that are going to grab their attention and grip them and pull them into a piece of content and down a funnel are kind of are going to work across the board.
And it also depends on which marketing strategy you're using. Like we are using an inbound strategy, but also an ABM strategy at the same time. And that ABM strategy is, for example, where we can go and be as personalized as possible, because there we are really trying to get to know a person. We do active research because we have qualified them as a potential customer. So it's basically our ICP has been set. We know that would be a great fit to go and try and sell our solutions to. Whereas in inbound, that's not always like possible in that extreme personalized way. ABM is where it is possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're probably for the first time as an agency doing outbound now, like outbound including more of a sort of ABM approach. Because we've historically done so well through inbound, because we're good at content marketing and SEO, etc. But yeah, having these internal discussions around, the fact that when it is inbound, you're going to be catching like a bigger bucket of fish, let's say. I don't know where I've gone down a fish analogy, and so you can't completely control who's going to be in that bucket. So you want it to be slightly broader, but still arrow deep to their pain point. But you can't be as personalized, obviously, as when you're going after an account and individuals where you can kind of learn more about them and then really hyper personalize, which is the one of the huge benefits of an ABM campaign.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's also where we see the biggest difference with inbound, for example, because like I said earlier, could be like with a Google campaign that we get a lead from the pizza place around the corner. Those aren't the ones that we want to go after. And with ABM, we know who we want to target because we've qualified them up front. So we know that whenever someone from that list, let's say, is ready to have a conversation with us or is engaging with content that we're putting out there, then we know, okay, qualified from the very beginning, we can immediately hand over to sales, and it will make like the whole sales cycle way shorter than with inbound, for example.
Yeah. I suppose like it's about having a mix, right? Multi-touch, sort of just there's pros and cons to sort of both approaches, but if you do both,
but they can perfectly coexist, and absolutely. In my very humble opinion, they should coexist.
Yeah, I think they feed into each other, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
At the end of the day, and this comes back to the customer journey. There's this ideal customer journey, right? And for us, we like to map things out, as you know, with a kind of customer acquisition map, which we now call Flow Finder. It's got a new name for what we do.
Cool.
And, there's kind of the ideal, right? Oh, I'll pull them into with this ad onto this landing page. Then they'll convert, join a webinar. Then there'll be a drip. And you'll get some of them, right? And as you know, people will drop off more and more so every point along the way. But the reality is that the customer journey is messier than how we would like it to be as marketers and content strategists. People jump around, right? They don't necessarily always turn up to a webinar, but that means, or if we've gone after them with an outbound personalized outreach message via email or LinkedIn DM, if we're also doing inbound, because as we know, the majority of people won't respond, won't sort of take the bait, but you're you've created some brand awareness there, and it's likely that they'll come across you again and with some inbound piece of content and jump around and listen to a podcast. And the more times that they come across you, your offer, your content, the more likely they are to convert.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because like here, I for example, there's a quote from Daniel Murray that I always have at the back of my head whenever we start a new campaign or we try to improve an existing one, whether it's inbound or ABM. But basically it says most of your audience is not ready to buy, and then the goal of marketing is that when they are ready to buy, your brand is top of mind. It's something that we try to keep in mind whenever we do both inbound and ABM, because with ABM, for example, we have, together with the sales team, identified our ICPs, so our ideal customer profile. We have a list that we know, okay, these are the companies that we want to target, want to go after. Here we need to get them at the table to have a conversation with. But with those cold emailings or even LinkedIn messages, if they haven't heard from you, or from the sales guy that is reaching out to them, so they have not heard from the company or the sales guy that is trying to have a conversation with him, they will most likely ignore you. But if you pre-target them via LinkedIn and you or another channel, we mainly use LinkedIn, but if you pre-target them with an ad, making sure that you're using those correct buzzwords for, I don't know, a specific time period whatsoever, whenever sales then does that outreach via email or via LinkedIn, it will ring a bell. The company name will ring a bell, and they will either go look for information on LinkedIn, whatever they can find, and if they will most likely be more ready to then have that conversation, instead of you just cold sending them an email, I have something to offer for you, please come buy from me. That's simply, it's not a way that works.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people calling it pitch slapping these days. So just slapping your target prospect with a pitch. And yeah, I think you touched on a really, really important point there, which is the fact that most of your target buyers are not in buying mode, right? And you can't sell to someone who's not ready to buy. I like to talk about, when you're browsing in a shop, like you go past a shoe shop, for example, and you know in your head, okay, I'm going to browse. And then the salesperson comes over. It's like the last person you want to speak to.
Yeah.
Like you usually chase you out of the shop because you don't want to be sold to. No one wants to be sold to. So I think it's great that whatever at AirPlus, what you guys are doing, whether it's inbound, outbound, ABM, etc., you go into that with that mindset that most of our buyers are not ready to buy, because it means even with the actual content of the email itself or the LinkedIn DM, you're probably not going to be pushing that sale too early, because you understand it's about starting a conversation, warming them up, etc. So we talked obviously about customer journeys, these different buyer types. Would you be okay walking me through, let's say, a typical customer journey that you know of, let's say from one of those key buyer personas that you target?
Well, I think let's consider the journey of a procurement officer. So obviously it begins with awareness, where either they recognize or they become aware of a need for better spend management. And that is thanks to our various marketing and sales efforts, and via a multi-channel approach, hence trying to keep our brand top of mind. So here we want to help them identify in which area we can potentially help them, because sometimes they don't know that for daily struggles that they are experiencing, there is a solution in place that could help simplify things. So, for example, supplier management. And we want to make sure that in our marketing efforts, we use those right buzzwords that I was referring to earlier. And for procurement, those could be like go from hundreds or thousands of invoices to only one, or go from hundreds of non-preferred suppliers to only one. Here we try to clearly say, like, you might have hundreds or thousands of invoices that you're dealing with. We can make things easier for you and just get them to one. Those are the right buzzwords that we have identified, which we feel resonate with that procurement persona way more than, for example, saying we can help you tame your long tail spend point. So we need to trigger curiosity, but also at the same time, in a matter of very limited characters, say we can help you simplify things. Come have that conversation with us, or sign up to get our newsletter, or come to one of the events that we're at, or one of the webinars that we're organizing, etc. Because there we want to elaborate on how exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also a good mix, like I said, from those that specialized content such as webinars and ebooks, because if they come to the phase where they want to explore, they will naturally look for more information, whether it's on your website or from like I said, signing up to one of your newsletters, but also with demos that we've done in the past with partners, or just from our solution suite, for example. And then we more or less have identified that they could be ready to buy. And when it comes down to kind of like the decision phase, that's where they will assess the integration capabilities in their existing systems. And there they will be helped by our sales team, because they always act as a consultant. They will consult. They are open to have those conversations, and only then, after getting positive feedback from those sales conversations, we can talk about onboarding, which involves training and implementation support from our operations team as well. And yeah, that's about it in a nutshell.
That's great. A couple of things always jump into my mind as you're talking, Jente. So that's good. That's a good sign. I like that. You've walked us through from what I would call the problem-aware sort of part of that customer journey. So they have a pain point, but aren't necessarily even looking for solutions. They might not know they exist, right? So it's targeting them at that sort of earlier on sort of part of the journey, which again, I think that, in my opinion, that's sort of the beauty of content marketing. That's why you want to create educational content, like, oh, did you know, like, take them from problem aware to solution aware, offer them different solutions, educate them about the solutions. Whereas I think that a lot of companies still, especially those that just aren't really doing content marketing, they just go after, let's say, solution aware and below prospects. So those where they're looking for a solution like yours. And of course we want to go after them, right? That's the low hanging fruit. Naturally, we're not going to turn down people who are ready and, already understand the kind of thing that you offer and want to explore your value proposition and want to buy. Naturally, we definitely want to capture that demand, but we also want to kind of create demand by educating prospects that are problem aware and might not have even thought of different solutions, or maybe the solutions they have in mind are so different to the kind of thing that you guys offer as a product and a service.
No, exactly, because when we put together our content, whether it's copy that we have on a landing page or a webinar deck that we're putting together for a webinar, we always need to make sure that we don't necessarily use technical jargon. We try to break it down into easily understandable concept and demonstrating like real world applications, because not everyone will resonate with that technical jargon. You have to sometimes break it down so that everyone is on the same page and there are no like misunderstandings or whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also liked that you mentioned the kind of consultative approach to sales, because in the end of the day, as we mentioned before, no one wants to be sold to. So it's important to kind of package up that part of the journey as something that kind of gives them value in and of itself, rather than jump on with one of our salespeople. And that's why probably traditionally we don't even call them salespeople. We think of clever names like our in a partnership manager.
Oh, definitely.
It's like,
we are guilty of that as well. I must admit.
Okay, yeah. Well, everyone does it. Everyone does it. I think we've dived into a lot here, Jens. This has been brilliant. My final question for you, I suppose, is do you have a tip for other marketers that are grappling with similar challenges in terms of having that sort of diverse mix of buyer personas? Is there any extra advice that we've not sort of unraveled today in this excellent episode that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I have two.
Please.
In one key lesson from my side would be, from marketing to sales to operations, make sure that you act as one team, and you all tell the same story through the entire customer journey, because the customer journey starts with marketing, then goes to sales, then when they become a customer, they go to operations or customer service. So you need to make sure that there is kind of like a smooth handover and transition between each division. And the second one would be, always invest in getting that deep understanding of your personas through continuous research and direct feedback from having those conversations with actual customers, and try to tailor that messaging and internal strategies in general to address unique needs and pain points, and at the same time leverage technology and different marketing and sales methods such as automation, inbound marketing, ABM, to personalize those interactions and streamline processes. And I just had another thing pop into my mind, because also based on a conversation that I was
I'll
having.
let you have a three.
Okay, thank you. It's a good one, I think. It's a good one. I remembered it from a conversation with with my country manager, and he said that we always need to foster a customer-centric, or as he calls it, a customer-obsessed culture within the organization in general. So each team member is aligned with enhancing the customer journey the same way from beginning until the end.
I love it. Customer obsessed, I think, is a great phrase. Some brilliant final tips there. When you started talking about leveraging technology, and this is probably a whole other episode, but we were talking earlier today with the team about the potential for generative AI to glean, vast amounts of data, but specifically about individuals. I don't know if that's crossing GDPR kind of regulations or not, but I think it's an interesting hyper personalization through the use of generative AI. I think is an interesting discussion. perhaps for another day. I'm not sure if we can open up that can of worms.
I know. No, that will definitely keep us going for another hour or maybe even two. But AI is definitely a topic that is very much alive, and it does offer promising opportunities to simplify customer journeys. But like you said, it is at the same time we have the increasing demand for data privacy and regulatory compliance. So it could add complexity to the entire thing. So yeah, trying to stay ahead and balancing it all would be key. But I guess everyone is still very much learning when it comes to AI.
Yeah, even though there are these self-proclaimed experts on LinkedIn, right, giving you 10 ways to prompt and write brilliant, blog posts and landing page copy. I could continue talking with you about all of these things, but I will let you enjoy your afternoon and weekend. Some brilliant stuff there. I love how we it all kind of looped back to the customer journey, that full funnel, having a conversation between departments, the fact that we're all there to achieve the same goal, how important it is to have that feedback loop between them, and to be customer obsessed at every step throughout the journey, no matter how kind of complex or how diverse that mix of buyer types are. I think that probably applies to all companies, all of those points there. So thank you, Jente, for all your wisdom and for sharing some of the ins and outs there of what you guys do at AirPlus. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I very much did, and a massive thank you for having me. I had so much fun, and I wish you the exact same. Have a very wonderful rest of your Friday. I guess you also will get some pizza later this evening.
We made a promise. We made a promise. Yeah,
and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I don't know if you're into football, yes or no, but if you are, then the Belgians are playing tomorrow evening. So fingers crossed that we will win.
I've actually got the Belgians are in my sweepstake, so obviously I'm supporting England, but if Belgium win the Euros, I'll win a few quid from the team. So,
okay, cool, cool.
There you go.
The more reason.
Much,
yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. Speak soon.
Awesome.